is facing its biggest emergency since its founding.
Well, for more on this story, let's cross now to Carlisle in the UK and bring in Dr. John Campbell. He also works as an independent health analyst. He has generated a large following on social media, partly due to his reasoned and rational insights into this pandemic. Dr. Campbell, it's good to have you back on the day. We just heard a doctor saying that he believes access to ventilators is being rationed in the UK. Is that something that's happening across the country?
No, that's not really my experience. Now, I'm not directly working in intensive care anymore, but I do have quite a few contacts in intensive care units in different parts of the country. And they're telling me that in most parts of the country, outside of the London area, there's actually still some reserve capacity. So, for example, in the local intensive care unit here, there's empty beds at the moment. So we still do have some intensive care capacity. Now, it has been full, and in parts of the country it will be full, but that normally happens anyway. So at the moment, hospital beds and intensive care beds are available in most parts of the UK most of the time. I don't think it's quite as bad as that doctor was intimating, to be quite honest.
We saw that today across the UK, people held a moment's silence for medical staff who have died during this pandemic in the UK. Our medical staff, are they working without the necessary protection? And if so, why is that?
Well, again, it's not really my experience locally. My contacts in the local hospital are fairly well supplied with PPE at the moment and have a regular supply of it. Some parts of the country probably do run out in some periods of time. And these are the ones that do tend to make the headlines when people do run out, because if people have plenty of PPE, that's not really that noteworthy. Right. Now, where there has been problems is with the quality of PPE sometimes, and particularly in the care sector. So it seems that the acute care sector is often prioritised for PPE, and the care sector, which has had a lot of deaths and a lot of cross-infection, often has struggled much more than the acute care sector, I think.
I'd like to bring in a quote from a leading German virologist. His name is Christian Drosten. He's a household name here in Germany. He told the Guardian newspaper that the rollout of testing in Germany was driven in part by market forces, which made it fast, and that wasn't the case in the UK, his words. Now, though, I have the impression that the UK is really gaining momentum in this regard and that it is coordinating testing efforts better than Germany, end quote. So Christian Drosten says that the UK is even ahead of Germany when it comes to the coordination of testing. So what is the British government doing right here?
Yeah, I wouldn't say we're doing as well as Germany. At the moment, so far in this pandemic, the British government or in Britain, we've had 8.39 tests per 1,000 people, where Germany has had over 24 tests per 1,000 people. So Germany's still well ahead. But you're right, the importance of testing has been realised now in the UK. It's gone from centralised to more regionalised areas where the testing's being carried out, although it's still not in every hospital. Now, over the past 24 hours, we've carried out 43,000 tests, which isn't a huge amount, because 73,000 have actually been available. And of course, the government is committed to getting up to 100,000 tests a day by the end of the month, which of course is only a few days away. It's Friday. So part of the problem has been the availability of tests, but now it's also a matter of the logistics of how those tests are administered and given to the people that need them. So, for example, there were testing made available to workers in care homes last week, but many of them couldn't physically get there. Whereas now there's units which are doing mobile testing, actually taking the testing facility to the care home so the testing can be carried out there. So it's getting more targeted, because it's not just the amount of testing. It's how that testing is targeted. And given that the death rates are so appallingly high in care homes at the moment in the UK, that's been given a priority now, and all the staff and all the symptomatic patients there are going to be tested.
Dr. Campbell, we've got about 1 minute here. How do you explain why Britain has one of the worst rates of infections and mortalities in Europe in this pandemic? I mean, what's the reason in your opinion?
I think it's because there was a lot of community spread before people realised there was a lot of spread going on. So there was generally a reactivity. So the philosophy seemed to be that, well, when we've got a problem, we will address it. Whereas really what we should have been saying, well, no, we're going to have a problem 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks down the line, and been much more proactive rather than simply reactive. So I think we've waited for problems to happen. So the lockdown, for example, didn't start till the 23rd of March in the UK, and really that was too late. And I believe there was a lot of spread in schools, for example, which actually closed quite late in the UK. Not that children have suffered badly themselves, but of course children pass it on to their parents and on to their grandparents as well. So I think it was basically late recognition that we had a problem, that there was established community spread, and the lockdown measures were taken reactively, not proactively.
Dr. John Campbell, as always, Dr. Campbell, we appreciate your insights and your time tonight. Thank you.
Pleasure, Brent.
Well, the day is almost done.